Hello, everyone, and welcome to another high elo game of Age of Empires. Today we find ourselves stranded in Spanish on Nomad for a match between Morg 11 and GodsPrisoner. Both players are playing the Spanish civilization, so this is a mirror matchup. I personally really enjoy these kinds of matchups. Oh, and right off the bat, you know it's going to be an exciting one because look at this. Both players building their town centers pretty much on each other's doorsteps. Now, for those of you unfamiliar, Nomad is a map where all players start with 3 villagers. There may be a treaty, there may not be for a short period of time, just to ensure that everyone can build a town center and get their economy going. Where you build your town center is completely up to you. I don't think either player knows where the other one is. Let's see, Red's vision does not see blue. Blue does not see red. So, let's take a look at our players. In the red trousers, we have Morg 11. His Elo is up here. And GodsPrisoner in blue, playing also the Spanish with his Elo up here. The reason I like mirror matchups, and when I say mirror, I mean basically both players or all players are playing the exact same civilization. It makes the game a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. There are no advantages or disadvantages over the other player. You know, you don't have a unique unit that counters this or counters that. You both are working with the exact same toolkit. Oh, I'm going to interrupt myself. Let's see if Red notices. There he is. So now Red has vision of where Blue is. We'll see how he reacts, seeing that Red is literally a meter away from his base. And mirror matchups, like I was saying before Red started scouting, because you have no advantages or disadvantages over your opponent, it really does put the focus on macro and micro, which as a lover of this game, I like to see. With no advantages, basically, you have to play better, you have to do your eco faster, you have to micro your military units much better, and that way you beat your opponent. You can't, for example, you know, if you're playing Goths, you can't, or against Goths, you can't mass hand cannons. If you're playing against Britons, you can't mass siege. Everyone is playing with the same toolkit. So for now, let's see what the players are deciding to do. Morg has started with a dock at the bottom. I believe his third villager, instead of building his town center with 3 villagers, he used initially 2 and put a dock at the bottom. Now, what that means is that he is ahead 1 fishing ship, because GodsPrisoner has also built a dock, but he has built his a little bit later. We'll see whether water control plays any role in this game, or whether the players focus on land. Some Nomad games, as you can see are in the mini-map, are ringed by water. Some are not. This particular map is. So, I don't know what the backstory is, how 6 Spanish stranded villagers ended up on this island. Maybe there was a shipwreck. Maybe they were off fighting in new lands, and their ship, ran afoul of some weather, and now they're stuck in here. A mutiny, a real Lord of the Flies situation here, where basically they're the same people, but they're fighting each other. Both collecting boars for now. And let's take a look at the map itself. I'm going to zoom out a bit, and so everyone can see. It looks a little bit like Australia, a little bit of an Australian shape. Let's see the amount of lumber, 134,000 lumber in total. So, not a lot at all. So you should, when you see a map like this, you know you can expect a bit of very quick military buildup, and not a long game, because 134,000 wood is not much. And once you run out of the fish in the ocean, and once you run out of wood for farms, is basically game over. So expect something quick, and we'll see if I'm right or not. Who knows? It might be a long, protracted game. I've been known to be wrong before. I'm married, so the feeling is not unusual to be wrong. Let's see. For now, both players gathering a lot of basic starting game resources, meaning a little bit of lumber and a lot of food. Both are still in Dark Age. 22 on food for red, and 20 for blue. So even though Blue started his dock later, he is not at all disadvantaged. I mean, 2 fishing ships is not that much in the grand scheme of things. Villager count is 18 to 18. Red is going up to 20. And has GodsPrisoner seen where Morgue is? No, he's seen a house, and that doesn't really tell him much, because in Nomad, sometimes what you see is one villager is used just to build a house, just to keep him or her occupied, while the other 2 scout a location. Now, this doesn't always happen where the players are, right on top of each other. Take a look at the map. Look how much space there was. But instead of scouting, both players opted for a very fast town center. And this you'll see when there are no treaties. So if you're more of a beginner player and you're playing this match and there's a 5, 10, 15-minute treaty period, I would suggest maybe exploring a little bit and seeing where you'd like to plunk your town center. These Nomad maps usually are full of resources. For example, look at this. There's gold here, stone here, wood here. No food, but there's usually herdables. You'll see sheep everywhere, deer, boars. A town center here it would be crazy, very constrained, but look at all that lumber you would get. So neither player really opted for scouting. They both kind of just plunked it down, which is the smart play when there is no treaty, because you don't want to get caught scouting while your opponent goes up and has a town center and starts pumping out villagers. That being said, both players are getting up to feudal. Morgue has a 30-second advantage over GodsPrisoner. So even though he had his town center up first, didn't really confer too much of an advantage. He's building a second dock. Let's see, has he seen? Yes. Look at the scouting. Fantastic scouting by Morgue. He's scouting from the bottom. He's sending ships and sheep all the way across the map. He's getting a perfect sense. And for those of you who watched my videos know that I'm a big proponent of scouting and map vision. Blue, on the other hand, a little bit of a dated scouting, not really much map presence, although he's seen the island, hasn't really seen red. We'll see if he knows. For now, all he's seen is a house. Or sorry, I apologize. Red knows exactly where blue is. It's blue that doesn't have the vision. That being said, they are up to feudal, and let's see how they allocate their resources. For now, 5 on gold for each player. They might be looking to go to castle, and so they want to collect their gold fairly quickly. Market going down for GodsPrisoner. Mining some gold in the back. Mining some gold in the back. So both players playing similar styles, which is really anticipated when you're in a mirror matchup. Players with such high elos, you're not expecting a lot of variety. I think both players are happy to just sit a little bit and boom. Or at least a mini boom. I don't think they have really the quantity of villagers for a major boom. Oh, red. Morgue is building a market right on top. So he's going to reveal to the GodsPrisoner that he is in fact here. Because when you see a house and then you start seeing structures going up, you can pretty much guess where your opponent is. You have this unexplored area here, and all of a sudden there's a house, a market, and now a villager is building a wall. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that this area here is where red has decided to make his base. Red is interestingly walling blue off. I'm not sure what this is for. Is he trying to avoid a aggressive play by blue, or does he himself want to dictate the pace of the game? For now, though, this is going to be a problem for red. 9 stone miners to red's 6, and he's sitting at almost double the stone count. So once both players hit castle, which both are up, GodsPrisoner about a minute faster, he is probably going to look to either do a tower drop, which I don't think is going to happen, or a castle drop. The question is, where will he drop the castle now that this avenue is closed off to him? This avenue, I mean, this looks juicy, right? There's a lot of structures, but they're houses. So to waste a castle on here, there's no resources except this gold to protect, and he doesn't really care because he's got the gold in the back. I would probably guess it's either he's going to go around to here, to this area, or he's going to go around to this area. But let's take a look. He's at 700 stone, so the second he can, and he notices... Oh, so so he's going here, but little does he know he can't actually build a castle there. Okay. Backs away. Where is he going to plunk it down now that he can't plunk it there? And red might be building a bit too much on this side. Oh, there we go. This is a decent zoning castle. I mean, he's going to get the market, the blacksmith, but Morg is already, in 5 seconds, he's going to be up to castle, so he can just rebuild these elsewhere. This doesn't really protect any resources. It doesn't really zone red in any significant way. More of a defensive castle. And we'll see if he starts producing conks out of there immediately. For now, let's take a look at the players, their positioning, continuing to expand into water. Water. We have fire galleys looking to pick off any random ships they come across. GodsPrisoner is happy to sit on one dock. Morg is sitting on two. And he's with his fire galleys. So he's got 2 galleys to 2. Where are Blue's fire galleys? They're not here. Or sorry, one in production. So he's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass here to red, although these fishing ships generally die a bit slower than, let's say, a galleon would to fire ships. Fire ships take a bit of time to kill off these fishing ships, and now he's going to get distracted with Morg's fire galleys. So Morg plucks down his own castle here, a little bit further away. But he's already sitting at 2 conks going to 3, to GodsPrisoner's 1 going to 2. Upgrades for both players, non-existent. We have the horse collar upgrade for Morg, but I mean, I don't see a single farm, so I'm not too sure if that was a useful upgrade or not. For now, he's focusing on conch production, which is probably the smart thing to do when your bases are this close together. So let's see if GodsPrisoner obviously realizes this. I think he saw these conquistadors. And now the fun starts, because these guys have a good range of 6. They pack a punch with a 16, but their accuracy is shite, so 65 base accuracy, which means they miss a third of the time that they shoot. GodsPrisoner, at the same time, establishing some water dominance. Little does he know there's a fire galleon here with a second one building, so his 1 fire galley with literally 1 HP... a strong one of these seagulls that's circling the dock could land on it and knock it down into the water. He's continuing to knock down this side, but is it enough? For now, we've got 5 to 4 conks, so not a huge difference, and we'll see which player can micro. Like I said, when you're playing a mirror matchup, in my opinion, micro is king. Economic macro, military micro. This is basically the match that shows you who's more skilled at playing this particular civilization. Doesn't mean more skilled generally. I mean, based on the Elos, Morg is a favorite to win this, which is the whole point of the Elo ranking. But that doesn't mean he's necessarily the better player overall. It just means that in this particular matchup, we'll see who in this game was able to control their Spanish army better. That being said, when you're outnumbered 8 to 5, let's see. Let's see how the battles go. Both players disengaging for now. Morg looking for a different avenue of attack. He's taking a wide berth. I don't think he wants to run into these conks just yet, especially now that they have high ground. Oh, where are you going, buddy? Bad pathing leads to a dead conk. Him and his horse, unfortunately, rotting away. Fire galleys now being annoying. Still no upgrades from GodsPrisoner. Not a single upgrade. Not a single upgrade aside from that horse collar for Morg either. So both players saying, forget the upgrades. We're just going to look to knock each other. We're going punch for punch here. So let's see who lasts the longest in the ring. For now, Morg is taking care of business. He's killed 11 villagers to GodsPrisoner's 2. That being said, GodsPrisoner's micro is pretty good. He's managing to pick off a lot of these conks, even though he's outnumbered. Now all of a sudden he's equally numbered. And he's taking the high ground. I think Morg is relying more on his production. He's sitting at 7 conks going up to 9 to GodsPrisoner's 4 going up to 6. So I think he's relying on just brute force as opposed to positioning and micro. Not to say he's ignoring the micro like we just saw right here. Managed to snipe off one, but look at this. Look at these reinforcements coming in. GodsPrisoner's conks, 3 of them are very much damaged, down to about 2/3 health. So he's got to be very careful. Either garrison them for 2 seconds to let them heal, or just, yeah, put the damaged ones in the back and these newer ones in the front. Production continuing for both players. That's a lot of villagers on gold. He wants to get those conks out. So let's see. Let's see if Blue's micro takes the day, or if Red's quantity over quality beats GodsPrisoner. For now, both armies yet again engaging. A couple of volleys. Disengage. And let's see. Again, higher positioning for Blue means better hits when they actually do happen. But with a base game, look at that. 8 conks shoot, 11 conks shooting. Not a single one managed to hit. This is the fun part of Conquistadors. They're so powerful, but like the Janissary, their accuracy is complete garbage. Nope. But when you send 1 to fight 12, I mean, you know what's going to happen. At the same time, destroying the dock. Doesn't look like GodsPrisoner is really focused on the water battle anyway, so I think he's going to be okay to leave the water to Morg. Not that Morg is really establishing any kind of dominance on the water. He's got 6 fishing ships. And those are fine, but that's not really... That doesn't indicate a huge focus. For now, he's building conks. He's sitting at 18 military to GodsPrisoner's. GodsPrisoner has 6. So a 3-to-1 military count of the same unit. 12 conks to 7 now. The question is, how will Morg deal with his castle? The answer? Imperial Age. So he is 25% of the way up. GodsPrisoner, nowhere close. He has... ways to go. He needs about 2,000 more resources, or about 1,600 more resources before he can even think about going to Imperial. This might be a game where once Morg hits Imperial, GodsPrisoner will either resign, or he'll try to take one really good battle, and if he wins that battle, he'll stick around and macro his eco for a while, or if he loses the battle, he'll just probably GG, because at that point, there's nothing. You have no army, you're behind on advancement. There's really not much you can do, because you know Morg is not going to sit idly by and just relax. He's going to be picking off villagers left, right, and center. Now that he has complete water control, Blue cannot at all contest it. So I think there's probably going to be one more fight. Blue's micro, in my opinion, is the better micro in this particular match. These conks need to be careful. He outnumbers him 14-8, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are damaged. So if Blue can micro well, there's still a very much real possibility that he can beat this army, especially with the high ground advantage, especially with the reinforcements coming in. Another volley, no damage by Red. Blacksmith has been rebuilt. Not too sure why. Not a single blacksmith upgrade is being researched. Oh, and a castle. Yeah, I think if Blue... This is fantastic play by Morg. Distract GodsPrisoner here with your army, which you know you can trade out because you're going up. You're already at Imperial. If this castle goes up, then it is good game. Then it is GG. Sorry for the long form, the good game. But yeah, GodsPrisoner, though, I think... Yeah, his micro is great, but the quantity here is just 10-4. I don't know what you can do. I think once these guys go down, he'll know that he can't really... There you go. So, both players... Let's just hide this. Great game by both players. It's funny that there's finally a archer upgrade being researched for Morg. He rebuilt his blacksmith all the way up here for one upgrade. But overall, his economy just managed to produce more conquistadors, even though when you look at the numbers, 54 villagers and fishing ships to 72 villagers. So when you look at things, God's prisoners should have had a economic advantage. And the castle here was a pretty interesting play to kind of put pressure on Red to expand to the right. And that's exactly what he did. But at the end of the day, I think maybe God's prisoner thought he had a bit more time to macro up. And Morg just did not give him the time that he needed. Immediately started producing conks, immediately outnumbered. And despite Blue's better micro, I think, in this particular game, Red's just volume, look at this, 10-1. Just beat out the day. So, great game. I always love seeing Nomad, and mirror matchups are my favorite for all the reasons I said in the beginning of the video. So, in this particular match, Morg managed to outmuscle God's Prisoner, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and in a second you'll see an end screen with a button to subscribe and a couple of links to more videos. If you like what you see, feel free to click them. And I'll see everyone in the next one.